Confidence, it's one of those words we throw around so easily, yet so few people truly understand what it really means. Because real confidence is not about puffing your chest out, showing off, or pretending to be something you're not. That's a facade, and women see through that in an instant. Real confidence is the quiet, steady belief in yourself. It's knowing who you are, what you value, and what you're moving toward, even when life throws chaos in your direction. And that, right there, is magnetic. It's the reason why women don't just notice a man like that, they lean toward him, they gravitate to him, and in many cases, they run after him. You see, when a man stands with unshakable confidence, he communicates something deeper than words ever could. He sends the signal, I don't need approval to know my worth. I don't beg for validation. I know who I am, and I know what I'm building. That kind of posture, mentally, emotionally, and even physically, is irresistible. It's irresistible because women, by their very nature, are drawn to strength, and confidence is the purest expression of inner strength. But here's the paradox. Confidence isn't loud, it doesn't need to shout. In fact, the more genuine it is, the quieter it tends to be. Now, think about the man who walks into a room and doesn't need to dominate it. He doesn't need to prove himself by talking over others or showing off what he owns. Instead, his presence alone commands attention because he is comfortable in his own skin. He carries himself with ease, like he belongs wherever he stands. That is what women notice, not the loud one grasping for attention, but the one who knows he doesn't have to chase it. That's when the dynamic flips. Suddenly, it's women who are chasing him. The foundation of this kind of confidence is responsibility. A man who takes responsibility for his life. His actions, his choices, his direction radiates authority. And responsibility is deeply attractive because it shows that you're not swayed by the winds of circumstance. You're grounded, dependable, solid. A woman looks at that and feels safe, but more than that, she feels inspired. She wants to be near a man who knows where he's going, because that path feels more certain, more meaningful. But let's be clear, confidence doesn't mean perfection. In fact, the men who appear flawless often come across as fake, and women instinctively pull back from that. Confidence is the courage to admit when you don't know something, to own your mistakes, and to keep moving forward regardless. It's the willingness to walk into the unknown with your head held high, because you trust yourself to figure it out along the way. That's what makes it unshakable, because it isn't built on the fragile approval of others. It's built on the deep trust you've cultivated within yourself. And if you want to see this principle in action, look at how women respond to men who stay calm under pressure. The world could be falling apart, but if he keeps his composure, she feels his steadiness. It's in those moments of chaos that true confidence reveals itself, not when everything is easy, but when everything is uncertain. That calm strength is intoxicating, because it signals to her that no matter what storms come, this man will not crumble. This is why confidence is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, you're easily overlooked, dismissed, or even pitied. But with it, you become undeniable. You don't need to chase women because your very presence, your very way of being, does the work for you. Confidence is not about arrogance or ego. It's about a deep-rooted alignment between who you are and how you show up in the world. And when a man embodies that, he doesn't just attract women, he compels them to move toward him. So, if there is one thing to cultivate, it's this: the kind of confidence that no setback can break, no opinion can shake, and no rejection can diminish. Because when you carry that within you, the world notices, and women don't just notice, they pursue. If confidence is the bedrock of attraction, then emotional intelligence is the bridge that allows a man to truly connect with a woman on a deeper level. It's one thing to be strong, grounded, and certain of yourself, but it's another thing entirely to understand her world, her emotions, her perspective, her silent needs that are rarely spoken out loud. And this is where so many men fail. They think power is enough, or money, or looks. But the truth is, women don't just run after a man who is impressive. They run after the man who makes them feel understood. To understand someone emotionally requires more than listening to the words they say. It demands patience, attentiveness, and the humility to step outside your own perspective and enter theirs. When a woman speaks, she isn't always looking for a solution. Sometimes she's searching for presence, for someone who doesn't dismiss her emotions as silly or irrational, but instead honors them as real, as meaningful. And when a man does this consistently, he becomes rare. He becomes the kind of man she doesn't want to let go of, because he sees her in a way the rest of the world never does. This doesn't mean being weak, overly accommodating, or sacrificing your boundaries. In fact, true emotional intelligence is rooted in strength. It's the ability to stay calm when emotions rise, to remain steady when she tests you, to absorb her storm without losing your own center. Women are drawn to that steadiness because it makes them feel safe to open up. And once that trust is earned, once she feels that her heart is safe in your hands, she will run after you, not out of desperation, but out of genuine desire to stay close to a man who offers what so few can. It's also about recognizing the subtle cues, the things she doesn't say but expresses through tone, body language, or silence. A man with emotional depth learns to read those signals. He doesn't rush past them or ignore them. He pays attention because he knows that a woman's emotions are not obstacles to overcome, but pathways to intimacy. That doesn't mean indulging in every mood or drama. It means knowing when to lean in, when to listen, and when to gently guide the energy back toward stability. And let's not forget the other side of this. Emotional intelligence is not only about her, it's also about you. It's about knowing your own emotions, facing your fears, acknowledging your vulnerabilities without letting them control you. A man who cannot regulate himself cannot connect with anyone else. But when you master your own inner world, when you have the courage to be honest about what you feel and the discipline to control it rather than be controlled by it, then you become trustworthy. You show her that she can rely on you not just in moments of joy, but in times of tension, conflict, and difficulty. Women run after men who offer this balance, strong enough to stand firm, yet soft enough to feel, wise enough to understand, yet humble enough to keep learning. That's what emotional intelligence creates. Not dominance, not control, but a bond. And a bond like that is worth pursuing. Because at the end of the day, attraction may begin with how you look, how you carry yourself, or the confidence you radiate. But it deepens and endures because of how you make her feel. And when you can make her feel understood, valued, and safe in her own vulnerability, you give her something she can't walk away from. That's when she doesn't just admire you from afar. She chases you, because what you offer is both rare and unforgettable. A man without purpose is like a ship without a compass. He may drift, he may even float for a while, but eventually the tides of life will pull him in every direction until he is lost. And women can sense that. They can see it in the way he carries himself, in the uncertainty in his eyes, in the lack of conviction in his words. A man with no vision is forgettable. But a man with vision, with a mission that he has devoted himself to, he is unforgettable. He doesn't chase the crowd because he has a path. He doesn't collapse under pressure because he has direction. And women, whether they admit it openly or not, are drawn to that fire, to that clarity of being, because it reflects something they deeply crave. Stability combined with forward movement. Living with purpose is not about chasing money for the sake of money, or status for the sake of status. Those things are shallow, And though they may impress momentarily, they rarely inspire loyalty. Purpose is something deeper. It's when a man knows why he wakes up in the morning, why he fights through challenges, why he refuses to settle for mediocrity. It's when his life has meaning beyond comfort. That kind of energy is magnetic because it's rare. Most people are wandering, hoping for direction to fall from the sky. But the man who chooses a vision, who commits to building something meaningful, becomes a beacon. And here's the paradox. Women don't want to be the center of a man's universe. They don't want a man who abandons his purpose for them, who gives up his path just to follow theirs. That might sound romantic for a moment, but in the long run it suffocates attraction. What they truly crave is a man who is so deeply rooted in his mission that his presence inspires them. A man who has something larger than himself to live for, something that demands discipline, courage, and perseverance. That man doesn't just attract, he commands pursuit because he embodies direction in a world drowning in aimlessness. Purpose creates weight. It gives a man substance. When he speaks, his words carry more force because they come from conviction, not from empty posturing. When he moves with intention. When he makes decisions, they're not random. They're aligned with his vision. That steadiness, that sense of being anchored, makes women feel they're not wasting their time. They're drawn to it because it's so different from the men who drift from one distraction to the next, hoping someone else will fill the void. Vision is not only about knowing where you're going, but also about pulling others upward as you go. A man with vision elevates those around him. He challenges them to grow, to strive, to become more than they thought they could be. That's what inspires women to run after him, not because he offers comfort alone, but because he awakens something inside of them. He embodies progress, and human beings are wired to chase progress. And let's not forget this. Purpose is tested. Life will throw obstacles, delays, and disappointments. Many men give up at the first sign of resistance. But the man who stays the course, who endures the storms without losing sight of the horizon, becomes unstoppable. That kind of resilience is intoxicating to a woman. She looks at him and sees not just a man, but a leader, someone capable of carrying not only himself, but others through hardship. That is a man worth chasing. So when you ask why women run after some men and not others, remember this. It's not the man who waits passively for meaning to find him, but the one who carves meaning out of the chaos, who builds a vision and walks it with unwavering resolve. Because a man with purpose is not just living, he's advancing. And nothing is more attractive than the undeniable momentum of someone who knows exactly where he's going. Strength alone can be intimidating. Tenderness alone can be taken for weakness. But when a man has the courage to embody both, he becomes something far greater than either quality on its own. It is this paradox, this balance, that women instinctively chase, because it speaks to the essence of what they long for. A man who can protect without suffocating, who can lead without dominating, who can love without losing his edge. A man of strength shows he can stand firm against the chaos of the world. He's disciplined, reliable, and unyielding when it comes to his principles. But if that strength is not tempered with compassion, it can turn cold, even cruel. It creates distance instead of connection. On the other hand, a man who is all tenderness, who bends at every moment and hides from confrontation, may seem sweet but quickly becomes unappealing because he cannot provide the security she craves. It is when those two qualities are married, strength to stand and tenderness to care, that a man becomes irresistible. Think of the father who is strong enough to protect his family, yet tender enough to kneel down and listen to his child's fears. Think of the lover who can stand unshaken in conflict, yet soften enough to embrace when words fall short. This dynamic is powerful because it reveals depth. Women run after such men not because they are flawless, but because they embody the wholeness of what it means to be human, strong enough to endure, gentle enough to love. The truth is, many men fear tenderness because they equate it with vulnerability. The vulnerability is weakness, soulness gives your mind space to wander. But in reality, it takes far more strength to be open, to care deeply, to risk rejection, than it does to close yourself off. Tenderness is not about being soft all the time. It is about having the courage to let your guard down when it matters, to let her see that beneath your armor there is a heart, and that heart beats not only for your mission, but also for her. That's what creates loyalty, because she sees the man is not just a machine of ambition, but a being capable of warmth. At the same time, tenderness without strength fails to inspire respect. Women do not want to carry the weight of leadership in a relationship alone. They may test you, push against your boundaries to see if you can hold your ground, and when you do calmly, firmly, without malice, they feel the presence of your strength. That balance reassures them that they are safe, not only emotionally but in the broader sense of life's challenges. They can rest in your presence because you have proven you can both shield and nurture. This is what makes the balance so magnetic. It is rare. Too many men lean too far into one side, becoming either too rigid or too fragile. But the man who has wrestled with himself, who has cultivated both the iron and the velvet within, radiates an energy that cannot be ignored. He is the protector and the comforter, the leader and the companion, and in a world full of extremes, he is the harmony women cannot resist chasing. So do not mistake love for softness, and do not mistake strength for hardness. The true art of being a man lies in the integration of both. Because when you are strong enough to stand firm and tender enough to bend in love, you embody the fullness of what a partner, a leader, and a protector should be. And that is the kind of man who doesn't have to chase because the balance itself makes women run after him. When you strip everything down, when you take away charm, appearance, even wealth, what remains at the core of a man's worth is his integrity. Because integrity is the measure of whether you mean what you say, whether your actions line up with your words, and whether others can trust that you are the same man in the dark as you are in light, and women are extraordinarily perceptive to this. They may be impressed by confidence, drawn in by emotional intelligence, inspired by vision, but if they sense inconsistency, if they catch even a hint that a man is unreliable, they will pull back. Trust is the foundation of attraction, and integrity is the soil in which trust grows. The truth is, anyone can act reliable for a moment. Anyone can put on a performance, but consistency is what separates men who are temporary from men who are unforgettable. When a man shows up the same way, time and time again, whether life is smooth or difficult, whether he's being celebrated or criticized, he becomes someone she can lean on. And that is a quality women run toward, because in a chaotic world, consistency is a rare form of stability. Consider how powerful it is when a man makes a promise and keeps it, even when it costs him something, or when he sets a standard for himself and refuses to break it, even when no one is watching. That quiet reliability creates a sense of safety, and safety is one of the deepest drivers of attraction. Women aren't looking for perfection, they know perfection doesn't exist. But what they long for is a man whose words carry weight, whose patterns are steady, whose character does not shift depending on the circumstance. Now some men think unpredictability makes them exciting, that inconsistency adds mystery. It might, for a fleeting moment, but mystery built on instability quickly turns into mistrust. True mystery, the kind that inspires pursuit, is when a man has depth, not when he's unreliable. Because the man who cannot be counted on is not pursued for long. He's endured until disappointment sets in. And women know this instinctively. That's why integrity and consistency hold more power than empty charm. But here's the challenge. Being consistent is hard. It requires discipline. It requires a man to align his daily habits with his larger vision. It demands that he shows up even when he doesn't feel like it, that he keeps his standards even when compromise would be easier. It's not about being rigid. It's about being trustworthy. And when a man proves he is trustworthy, something powerful happens. She relaxes. She opens up more. She invests more. She runs toward him because her heart senses it is not being gambled with. This doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes. Integrity is not about being flawless. It's about owning your flaws when they appear. When you stumble, you admit it. When you fail, you take responsibility. That honesty, repeated over time, builds more respect than any performance of perfection ever could. A woman doesn't run after the man who never falls. She runs after the one who falls and gets back up without hiding, without blaming, without running from the truth. At the end of the day, women are not chasing fantasies. They are chasing reliability clothed in strength. And when a man can prove, through consistent action and unwavering integrity, that he can be counted on, he becomes more than attractive. He becomes irreplaceable. Because in a world full of empty words and broken promises, the man who stands by his word again and again will always be the one women run after. There is something undeniably powerful about it. Mystery, it's not about playing games, nor is it about hiding who you are. It's about refusing to put your entire being on display all at once, about holding back just enough to invite curiosity. Women are not drawn to what they can fully predict, because predictability, when taken too far, breeds boredom. They are drawn to the unknown, to the challenge of peeling back layers, to the thrill of discovering more than meets the eye. And when a man embodies this, when he lives in a way that sparks curiosity and demands pursuit, he becomes unforgettable. The truth is, women don't run after what is too easily won. Attraction is not only about comfort. It thrives on tension. The dance of pursuit loses its rhythm when one side gives everything away too quickly. When a man lays all his cards on the table, when he abandons his individuality just to win her approval, the dynamic collapses. She may feel flattered for a moment, but deep down, she loses interest because there is no challenge, no sense of discovery. But when a man knows his worth, when he refuses to abandon his mission or dilute his standards, he presents something different. He presents a puzzle, one that she wants to solve. This doesn't mean withholding affection or being cold. Mystery without warmth turns into detachment, and detachment pushes people away. What it does mean is that you maintain your independence. You have a life, a vision, passions, and pursuits that do not revolve entirely around her. You show love, yes, but you also show discipline, and that blend creates gravity. She sees a man who offers affection yet refuses to lose himself in the process. That paradox of closeness and distance is intoxicating. It signals that she cannot take him for granted, that she must continue to earn his attention, just as he continues to earn hers. Challenge plays a critical role here. Not the kind of challenge that comes from unnecessary conflict or arrogance, but the kind that comes from standards. A man who expects respect, who sets boundaries, who does not tolerate mediocrity in himself or in those around him. That man challenges a woman to rise. And she will rise, gladly, because deep down she wants to. She wants to be inspired by the man she chooses, to feel that she has gained something rare and valuable. Without challenge, relationships become stagnant. But with challenge, they grow, they evolve, they come alive. Think of the men who leave lasting impressions. They are never the ones who gave themselves away cheaply, who molded themselves into whatever was desired of them. They are the ones who stood firm in who they were, who revealed themselves slowly, deliberately, with a sense of depth that kept unfolding. That's what women run after, not men who are shallow, predictable, and easy, but men whose character, ambition, and presence cannot be consumed in one glance. They pursue the mystery because it promises discovery. They pursue the challenge because it promises growth. This is why the art of mystery and challenge is not manipulation. It is authenticity. It is about living a life so rich, so full, and so purposeful that no one person can ever define it entirely. It is about being generous with love, but never cheap with your essence. It is about revealing enough to build intimacy, but withholding enough to maintain depth. And when a man strikes that balance, he doesn't need to chase women, because women feel compelled to chase him. So remember this. Give her comfort, yes, but give her curiosity as well. Be open enough to build trust, yet strong enough to maintain your own ground. Because the man who offers both warmth and challenge, intimacy and mystery, does not just attract, he creates pursuit. And pursuit born from genuine fascination is the kind that never truly ends. When you look at it all together, the picture becomes clear. Women are not running after men by accident, nor is it some mystery that can't be understood. They are drawn to something deeper than appearances or possessions. They are drawn to men who stand with unshakable confidence, who radiate strength without arrogance. They are drawn to men who understand them, who can listen and connect with emotional depth. They are drawn to men with vision, who know where they are going and refuse to drift aimlessly through life. They are drawn to men who balance strength with tenderness, who can protect and lead yet still open their hearts. They are drawn to men whose integrity and consistency make them trustworthy in a world of broken promises. And they are drawn to men who carry an air of mystery and challenge, who inspire pursuit through depth, independence, and standards. Each of these qualities builds upon the other. Confidence without integrity is arrogance. Vision without tenderness is cold. Mystery without consistency is chaos. But when all of these come together within one man, when he chooses to live as someone grounded in strength, open in love, firm in principle, and purposeful in action, he becomes rare. And rarity is irresistible. This is the truth. You don't have to chase love. You don't have to beg for affection. You don't have to compromise who you are to be wanted. Become the kind of man who embodies these qualities, and pursuit becomes inevitable. Women will run after you not because you played games, not because you pretended to be something you're not, but because you stepped fully into the man you were meant to be. And the moment you do that, attraction stops being a struggle, because your very presence carries the weight of strength, the warmth of love, and the promise of a life worth running toward.